Some stories are too strange to believe, too dark to be just made up. They start as whispers, told between friends, late at night. And the more you hear them, the more real they feel. This is one of those stories. A tale that refuses to stay buried. A tale that made even me question what's real and what's waiting in the dark. They say she crawls through the dark streets at night. Her body was cut in half by a terrible train accident. Now, with no legs, she moves using only her hands and elbows. People call her Teke Teke, one of Japan's scariest urban legends. Some believe she hides near train tracks, waiting. Others say she appears out of nowhere, moving fast with a strange sound. No one knows when she'll come, or who she'll choose. At first, even I didn't believe this story. It sounded like just another ghost tale. But then, I heard something that changed everything. This is more than just a legend. This might be real. And once you know her story, there's no going back. It was a gloomy evening when Maya, a 15-year-old schoolgirl, packed her books and left for home. Her usual route was along the main road, well lit, filled with people and traffic. But today, dark clouds had already covered the sky. Rain had started falling, and thunder echoed in the distance. Maya's mother had texted, "Come home quickly." So instead of taking the safe road, she chose the shortcut. A narrow path behind the school, running past an abandoned railway line. Everyone in town knew the story about that place. Old tracks where a girl had once died, a girl who became something else. They called her Teke Teke. But Maya didn't believe in ghost stories. Not really. As she stepped onto the path, the world around her changed. The trees became darker. The rain turned colder. Even her phone lost signal. She walked faster, her shoes slapping against the muddy ground. But suddenly, she heard it. A sound. Teke, teke, teke. It was soft at first, like the tap of nails or metal against stone. She looked around. Nothing. She kept walking. But then, the sound got closer. Faster. Now it was clear. It was the sound of bones dragging, of something scraping against the earth. Maya's heart started to race. She looked back again. That's when she saw her. In a flash of lightning, just for a second, a figure crawling on the tracks. Pale skin, long black hair soaked from the rain, blood covering her hands. She had no legs, and yet she was fast. Maya screamed and ran, splashing through puddles, tripping over stones. The sound didn't stop. The thing was chasing her, crawling, yet closing in like a beast. Maya ran harder, tears mixing with rain. She reached the edge of the path and tumbled onto the main road just as a car passed by. The driver stopped, helped her up, called her mother. But when they checked the path behind her, no one was there. Just deep drag marks in the mud, leading back to the tracks. Maya was taken to the hospital. Her legs were bruised, cut as if by sharp blades. She kept whispering in her sleep. She was real. She asked me where my legs were. The doctors said she was in shock. But Maya knew the truth. She didn't believe in the urban legend before. But now she can't close her eyes without hearing. Rohan, a 22-year-old college student, had missed his last train on the way back from a late-night study session. His phone was dead, and there were no cabs in sight. The rain had poured relentlessly all evening, leaving the streets empty and quiet. The train station was eerily silent, lit only by flickering lamps, casting long, stretching shadows across the tracks. He didn't mind. Rohan was used to the quiet. What else was there to do? He sat on one of the benches, waiting for the first train of the morning. The clock ticked. The air grew cold. But then he heard a sound. A scraping noise that seemed to echo down the platform. Teke teke teke. At first, he thought it was just the wind, maybe something scraping against the walls. But it wasn't. The sound came again, sharper this time, like someone was dragging something heavy across the ground. Rohan stood up, puzzled. He peered into the darkness at the far end of the platform. Nothing. Maybe he was imagining things. But then the scraping sound came again, louder. It echoed off the walls. He squinted into the shadows and saw it. A figure dragging itself along the tracks. Slowly, almost effortlessly. Her upper body twisted, contorted, as she used her elbows to pull herself forward. At first, Rohan thought it was a woman in distress, maybe someone hurt. He hesitated about to walk towards her, but something felt wrong. The woman's movements weren't normal. Her body was too twisted, her arms too long. Then he saw her face. Pale, twisted, with hair so long and dark that it seemed to flow like water. Her eyes were wide, bloodshot, and hollow, like empty sockets staring straight at him. She didn't speak, but somehow he knew. She was coming for him. "Where are your legs?" Her voice was a whisper, but it carried like a thunderclap inside his head. Rohan's blood ran cold. His feet froze to the ground. Suddenly, she lunged forward, her movements impossibly fast, faster than any human could move. Her hands scraped along the cold cement as she dragged herself closer, inching toward him with unnatural speed. Terrified, Rohan backed away, stumbling, slipping on the wet floor. He turned to run, but his legs felt heavy, like they were stuck in quicksand. She was getting closer. "Where are your legs?" The voice echoed around him, surrounding him, until it felt like it was coming from inside his skull. His heart pounded in his chest, but he couldn't move. His eyes were locked on her, paralyzed with fear. He felt a strange sensation, like he was being pulled toward her. Suddenly, Rohan snapped out of it. With a burst of adrenaline, he ran down the platform, past the benches, not daring to look back. As he reached the end of the platform, he glanced over his shoulder. There was no one there. He took a deep breath, thinking he had escaped. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw her again, just standing in the shadows, staring at him. The same haunting eyes. The same twisted form. She hadn't moved an inch. But somehow, Rohan felt her presence, like a cold weight on his chest. The air seemed to freeze, the world holding its breath. He didn't know how, but he knew she was never going to leave. With a final, desperate scream, he ran into the streets, not stopping until he reached his apartment. Rohan was safe, at least for now. But every time he closed his eyes to sleep, he heard it. That same whisper. "Where are your legs?" And that question would haunt him every night. Because deep down, Rohan knew that Teke Teke was waiting for him. Somewhere in the shadows. Teke Teke isn't just a story. She's an urban legend that moves, from tracks to alleys, from country to city. Those who say they've seen her are often never seen again. Or worse, they live, but without their legs, unable to explain how. So next time you walk near a train track and you hear something crawl behind you, don't turn around. Don't ask questions. Because if you see her, she'll ask you, "Where are your legs?" And then she'll take yours.